Continue to deteriorate, and that's in spite of President Tinubu's intervention. This week, Governor Siminalayi Fubara ordered an immediate relocation of the legislative business of the State House of Assembly to Government House in Port Harcourt. The relocation order is contained in the State Official Gazette, the Executive Order of the Rivers State Government 001-2023. Now, the order came about 24 hours after Victor Okojumbo, a lawmaker loyal to the governor, emerged as a new factional speaker of the assembly, and a few hours after a high court in the state barred the pro-Wike speaker and 24 other lawmakers from parading themselves as members of the assembly. The order also came a few days after Governor Fubara declared that Rivers State had no House of Assembly, and a day after the governor visited the legislative quarters where the pro-Wike lawmakers were holding sitting. I still have Joel Kemie, a political analyst, join us via Zoom, and Justice Ojieno. We will have to begin with the legal aspect of this. So I'll start with you, Justice. What are the legal and constitutional implications of Governor Fubara's decision to relocate the Rivers State House of Assembly to the Government House?
Okay, for me, I think if we check the case, especially the case of Inokojo and Adeleke, one of the things that he decided was that there has to be, the House of Assembly has to be the scene for lawmaking. So for the governor to now say that, okay, he's relocating to the government house, maybe let's agree for the sake of argument that maybe in quotes, as he is alleging that the place or the government house, sorry, the National Assembly is not in a safe place, is not in a safe state for the other persons to sit. For me, I think that it is not that acceptable. It is wrong, and as much as possible, we must also be reminded. I think we've gotten it wrong in our own neck of the woods that there's a reason why Section 4 comes before Section 5 of our Constitution. Chapter 5 comes before Chapter 6. Section 4 is the section that talks about the legislature, both at the state level and at the at the national level, meaning that the lawmaking has to come first. Executing of the law is second. But we have gotten it the other way around. We feel that executive is stronger and bigger than the legislature. If the laws are not made, there is nothing for the executive to execute.
Let's bring in Joel. Joel, how might this impact the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State?
It's so unfortunate that Rivers State has become a theater of what I call sad democratic drama. Since past the last 1 year, it's been one issue or the other. Now, the whole thing has generated to the extent that the state government has given an executive order, the governor has given an executive order for the house to move to the government house. And in the midst of all of this, I just find out where is the people? Because, where are the people in the midst of all of this? And the whole drama, the democratic political drama in Rivers in the last 1 year, somehow brings about the question of a mockery of democracy as being practiced in Rivers. Talking about the movement of the State House of Assembly, made up of just 4 members to the government house, for me, I think it violates the principles of the separation of power, because you cannot have the executive and the legislature in the same building. I don't think it really calls for the separation of power that the principle talks about.
All right.
And talking about the people in all of this, I'm trying to refer to the suspension or the court order that says derecognizes the other members of the House. And I think in this case, it is shortchanging the people who they're supposed to represent. Because if the laws that are made, because in this case now it's a power of wits, if the laws made by the 4 people, would it be a reflection of the total number of the eligible voters or people from the constituents? And so I don't think it's a good idea to relocate the legislature to the government house, because it totally violates the principles of separation of power.
All right, let's talk about precedents. What precedents exist for such a relocation, of a state House of Assembly, and what were the outcomes in those instances?
Okay,
Justice.
Okay, for me, I may not, the outcome, especially in the case of Inokojo and Adeleke, was that all the laws, I think, that were made in the place that was not the House of Assembly were nullified. Were nullified because they were not made at the recognized seat of legislative power. So I think they were nullified. So I feel that to a large extent also, of course, as Mr. Keme raised, was a major issue of quorum. 4 persons out of course, instead of 32, now 31, because one person became late. It is eternally wrong, especially in the light of Section 96 of our Constitution, that actually talks about the quorum of any particular state House of Assembly. In this situation, it's supposed to be at least 11, because the law says 1/3, the Constitution says 1/3 of the House, of the total number of persons who constitute the House of Assembly. And see, the mathematics doesn't make sense at all. 4, not even 11, and that's quorum to sit. But to make major decisions like, for example, electing the principal officer. So 3 people now decide who the speaker is.
But if you look at what brought them to this point, the fact that some people defected from their political party, when they left, was there a crisis in their party, which is the reason that
you see, fantastic, and I think there's section 109 or something, 1G. You see that question? We are jumping to the conclusion. That question is before the courts of law. I think it's even now at the Court of Appeal. So the jury is still out as to whether there was dispute that is strong enough or good enough to be able to say, okay, these persons that have left, whether the PDP for the APC and back to the PDP or still in APC, whether they have indeed lost their seat. So the jury is still out on that. Until the jury comes back in and gives its verdict, we are not qualified to say whether they have lost their seat or not. Even the governor isn't.
All right, let's quickly hear from Joel. How might this decision now affect the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches in Rivers State? I know you were referring to that earlier, so just expatiate some more.
It will definitely affect the functions of the State House of Assembly. And it will definitely affect the whatever laws or whatever will come out from the House. And like my brother said there in the studio, the quorum is not there. And for me, given that we practice a democratic system where these people are representative of people, of voters who have elected them to go and represent their interests. So you can imagine in this case now, where you have only 4 persons now making the laws, I don't think it's really speaks volume of, it really speaks well of our democracy. It's simply, from what I see, the activities of even the executive and the legislature, as far as Rivers State is concerned, is simply politics. It's simply politics to outwit one person or to outwit the other. And then we've had a lot of statements coming from the purported godfather, the godson, and all of that. And then when somebody says, oh, I made a mistake for making him governor, I will. So are you saying that it was exclusively your power, yourself that made him governor? What about the voters? So in this case, when you look at the activities of the State of Assembly as recognized now by the incumbent governor, and you look at the executive cohabiting in the same building, that will tell you a lot about what will come out in terms of laws and in terms of approvals or in terms of functions of the State House of Assembly, enshrined the ground of Nigeria, which is the Constitution. So it's just like we're just playing.
All right,
we're just playing. It's very
all right,
signal.
You've made your point, and I sincerely appreciate you for joining us on the show. I've been speaking with Joel Kemie, a political analyst, and he joined us via Zoom. And of course, Justice Ojiena, a lawyer with me in the studio. Thank you so much for making our time to be part of the conversation this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Abosede Adeniro Aderemi. Until next week, goodbye.